Good morning, everybody. Very happy to see you this morning. Thank you to the organizers from EVBox, and it's a real pleasure for me to be in Munich today and also to see some friends in the room. Very hard to speak after Dr. Hauer, because he just showed us not only the benefits of electrochemical storage and battery storage, but the ins and outs of why we need storage and why we need to think of it also on the demand side. What I'm going to be speaking today is, to try to make the electrical part a bit more visible and connect it to renewables. I'm chair of APSTE. APSTE is a Bulgarian association based in Southeast Europe, Association for Production, Storage and Trading of Electricity. Some of our members you can see here. And what we do is basically we try to make the business case for renewables and storage visible. We raise awareness, we work with stakeholders at the national, regional and European level to improve the investment environment for renewables and batteries. We try to work with energy intensive consumers to educate them, to help them understand how they can sign long-term PPAs with renewable developers and IPPs. And obviously, we work also with public stakeholders like system operators and regulators to help them better and faster come to grips with how storage can be beneficial for the system. We have different partnerships, but I want to stress here our partnership with Solar Power Europe, Wind Europe, and obviously the resource platform as well is the European Storage Association for Storage of Energy as well. I'm myself also a board member at Solar Power Europe. I guess most of you know Solar Power Europe, Wind Europe as well. About the resource platform, it's actually a multi-stakeholder platform that is active since 2017, and it's done miracles for corporate procurement of renewable energy in Europe. So we have set up a regional hub in Southeast Europe and are trying to replicate in that region what has already been achieved to a big extent at the European level. So what are the main drivers to the transition to renewables and battery storage? There are many, but I've tried to structure them around, technology improvements in scale that has led to lower cost, lower LCOE, levelized cost of electricity. Then obviously the regulatory environment has been mostly beneficial, not always. That has led to, massive investments in renewables globally, also in Europe, and that has created some volatility at power markets. And as we have also painfully realized recently, grids in Europe, especially at the periphery, are sometimes strained. So what happened in Spain and Portugal is of course not related to renewables, or at least we need to wait for the technical report to know what the real causes are, but it's clear that the underlying structural reasons behind that are related to insufficient interconnectivity and flexibility of the grids in certain parts of Europe. Renewable energy, as we know, has been a very successful story of massive growth over the last more than 20 years. So we see here basically how after 2012, 2013, renewables have started to add more capacity on a yearly basis compared to non-renewable sources, and that's over a 20-year period. But even if we zoom in on a 10-year period, you see that this disparity or this delta has been growing bigger and bigger to the favor of renewables. And last year, 2024, globally we have added 585 gigawatts of renewables compared to very little non-renewable. So when you look at the circles at the bottom, you see this is the share of capacity installed on a yearly basis, clear acceleration pattern, although also in absolute numbers, of course, renewables are growing massively, but in relative terms, it's been mind-blowing. Last year, roughly 93% of all capacity additions are renewable, 3/4 of that solar, more than 450 gigawatts in a single year. Absolutely incredible, if you ask me. Still, we are not yet there when it comes to the goal of tripling renewable capacity by 2030. Solar, clearly already the king, overtaken wind even. I mean, you might know that wind has been, the technology that started much earlier, in the beginning of the century. Solar started coming in after, let's say, 2005, 2006, and then with a more noticeable growth after 2010. Over the last 5 years, solar has done incredible speed of development, and now it's clearly taking the lead. Globally, we have something like 4.5 gigawatts of renewables currently. Big part of it, of course, big hydro projects, but also, a lot of solar already. That was end of 2024. Now we are already above 2 terawatts, of course. Fun fact, it has taken humanity 68 years to reach the first terawatt. Then it took us 2 years to reach the second one. And most probably less than 2 years to reach the third terawatt, which is in the making. When we look at the regional breakdown, I don't know if you see the map actually, I don't see it from here, but there should be a global map here showing that there is clear disparity between the different regions. So Asia leading the pack, and Europe, North America being the other 2 big regions. But when you look at Africa, when you look at South America, Middle East, there is clearly much work to be done. So Solar Power Europe, Wind Europe work together with our entities like Global Renewable Energy Council, Global Renewable Alliance, Global Solar Council, etc., to make it possible to replicate the success we have seen in the 3 key regions, also in other regions. And also we have to stress, of course, that when we look at Asia, it's China that has mostly been responsible for the bulk of the growth, but other countries like India, of course, are also investing heavily now. So this is, I think, a very important slide by the International Energy Agency. It shows us that the LCOE of solar plus storage is either already competitive or more competitive compared to the dominant energy source in 3 key countries, or it is going to be, in the next couple of years, much more competitive than that, even if we are somewhere here, let's say. So China, India, United States, solar plus batteries already below coal and below natural gas. Let that sink in. This is a slide that I think we should be showing the skeptics, because many people still think that renewable energy development and battery storage and all the transition agenda is just a narrative. It is not. Okay, Europe and regulations. I'm not going to bother you with all the details, but clearly we know that in the last 5 years, the recovery after COVID has been dominated by renewables. It was also, of course, partly to favorable regulations, but to a big extent, if you ask me, politicians have been appropriating what has already been happening in the market. So we have the goals, starting with 33%, then increasing to 45%, 55%. But I want us to focus on this part, because this is the new commission, the new legislative period. So the Clean Industrial Deal is still in the making. We expect more details to come in the coming weeks. But what we know is that currently renewables, or the green part of you know, the Green Deal is not going to be at the forefront anymore. Now it's all about security, about competitiveness, and what makes me personally very happy is that it's not only the industrial deal. So it's a clean industrial deal, there is continuity, and policymakers also at the Brussels level are now very much aware that renewables can support both the competitiveness agenda but also the security agenda. And there is 100 billion, plan to support decarbonization of industrial energy consumers, important, very important for competitiveness. There is the Affordable Energy Action Plan, starting with, you know, a rather modest $500 million package focused on de-risking PPAs for industrial consumers, which is again, I think, a small, not so small, but actually, let's say a pilot, a first step in what should become a much bigger scheme to make it possible for industrial users to reap the benefits of renewables. Cutting red tape, very important, because, you know, it's impossible to be competitive if it takes 5 years to permit a big solar plant, 7, 8, up to 10 years to permit a big wind power project. And again, coming back to, let's say, the interconnectors between Spain and France, easily more than 10 years to permit a high voltage power line in Europe. That should change, and that should change very quickly. And actually, probably most important at the end, there is a focus on grids and hopefully also on battery storage. I think flexibility should come more to the forefront. So the more wind and solar installed, the more hours with, let's say, 60 or more % of renewables in the mix. You see it here, countries like Denmark, Spain, Germany, they have a higher share of installed capacity from renewables, and obviously more and more hours in a given year. That's 2024, but this year it's even more pronounced, with very big share of renewables at the daily rate, and this of course creates volatility. Volatility, which means that there is a big peak to valley price spread in countries like Germany, Spain, pretty much everywhere this year already. Then we were marveling at 2024 with Spain reaching you know, a price of 0 or around 0 in 27 days. I can guess we're almost there this year already. And then here an example from Bulgaria with, you know, very high differences at the spot market between the price midday and then at night. This, of course, we can see even more clearly now this year in Germany, for example. This is a very interesting figure by Restart Energy, showing how the captured rate of solar is not only fluctuating, but going further down and down into areas that are painful for developers and operators. So cannibalization is already a problem in big markets, in small markets alike. But, you know, this is temporarily having a negative impact on revenues, but is also providing a very strong price signal.
Sorry to interrupt you, Mr. Nikola. You only have 2 minutes.
Yeah, thank you. It's already creating, you know, a price signal for battery storage because it addresses very well this cannibalization issue. And co-location is something that should happen much faster in Germany. This is something that is related also to the European agenda of reducing red tape. Here, you see 4 markets in Southeast Europe that are providing currently the best energy arbitrage potential for 1-hour battery system. Why? Because of, you know, a combination of cheap renewables and inflexible capacity, flexible generation, like nuclear, coal, etc. So this is something that, again, is currently having a negative impact on operators, but in the midterm has created a massive inflow of investments in storage. So I think this is where the magic happens a little bit. Volatility is bad in a way, but it's also good. So here I'm not going to focus on that. I think you're going to have the presentation for review, but what I want to show you is how the revenue streams for a battery are changing over time. This is the UK, one of the most mature markets in Europe. And here, obviously, starting with frequency response and services, the business case is now gradually moving to other revenue streams. And in other countries like Southeast Europe, it's going to be mostly arbitrage. Pityly, I'm not able yet to share the latest information from the European market outlook for battery storage. It's going to be published officially tomorrow, so take note. And I think what we're going to see there is a continuation of the growth, so not probably doubling every year as it was over the last 3 years, but there is growth, and hopefully the potential is there to keep growing. Currently last year we were about here, 36 gigawatt hours, mostly in some big markets, UK, Germany, Italy, and mostly in residential. This is going to change. I think utility scale is going to be the segment that is very quickly going to overtake this thing here. So at the end, we need to focus on safety and reliability when it comes to batteries, because the renewables share is growing rapidly. We have seen that perceived or real renewables are very often the ones people point fingers at, and we need to make sure that we don't have any risk related to the hardware. We should be sure that batteries are able to provide all the services needed for a flexible yet stable grid. And we need to make sure that we keep the popular support for battery storage expansion. Probably that's the positive part of what happened in Spain, that it showed how important, how critical storage is, and of course, interconnectivity. Because batteries are versatile, you can put them at the generation, at the consumption, but for the network they provide key services, which I'm very confident would have helped to avoid the disaster in Spain. And last, to finish, Solar Power Europe has recognized early on how important battery storage is. So we are starting a Battery Storage Europe platform, which is going to promote at the European level the development and expansion of battery storage. We want to be the voice of the battery storage industry when it comes to grid applications, but also hybrid projects, standalone projects. And follow the next couple of days, we're going to announce this platform formally, and feel free to get in touch and work together with us on improving the environment for battery storage. I'm going to skip that, and at the end, I want to let you know that we're organizing a big event in Sofia in a couple of weeks' time, 21st, 22nd of May, corporate PPAs, storage in Southeast Europe. Feel free to join us. I think it's going to be a very interesting discussion with representatives of Greece, Bulgaria, Turkey, Romania, and the Western Balkans. Thank you very much. I wish you a very fruitful and positive day here, and hope to see you around at Intersolar over the coming days. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Nikola.